and with my arms and my hands just resting in front of my belly. Okay? Right, I'll come back down. Get back in the position again. Now I want to say a few words about the breathing technique that I want to introduce. Let me just... So as I said, this is generally known as abdominal breathing. And to explain what I mean by abdominal breathing, it's probably useful to bear in mind that most people, when they think about breathing, they're thinking about the breath going in and out of their lungs, and generally they're thinking about their rib cage pulling the breath in and out. And that's how a lot of people breathe most of the time. Well, abdominal breathing is not using the rib cage and not using it's not using the rib cage to breathe, and so while you're breathing abdominally, the rib cage and your chest shouldn't be moving at all. The movement should be from your abdomen. So if you can imagine the abdominal muscles, when they contract, they push the air out of your lungs, and when they relax, the air comes back into your lungs. And so the movement is in these muscles in your abdomen. And a useful way to get into this is to start off by breathing out, simply by contracting these abdominal muscles. So if you breathe out, well, if you contract these abdominal muscles gently, you'll see that the air will just flow out naturally. And when all of the residual air has left your lungs, then you can relax these abdominal muscles. So your abdomen comes back out a little bit, and that draws air back into your lungs. And so the abdominal breathing basically is a process whereby you're breathing simply thanks to the movements in these abdominal muscles. You're contracting these muscles. They move in and they push the air out, and then you relax them, they move back out, and the air gets sucked back in. And all of the while that you're doing this, there should not really be any movement in your muscles in your chest. So the abdominal breathing is a profoundly relaxing form of breathing. I think from a medical perspective, it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is quite different to the sort of breathing that we do when we're breathing from our chest, which is a much more active form of breathing, which is more suitable for performing vigorous actions. So what we're going to do in this meditation session is we're going to practice abdominal breathing. So before starting the guided meditation, I'll just say a few words also about focusing your attention. Because what I want you to do while we're doing this meditation is I want you to focus your attention as far as you can and as strongly as you can, simply on the physical sensations of your abdominal muscles contracting and pushing the air out and relaxing and allowing the air back in. So just these physical sensations of the movements in your abdomen, pushing the air out and then allowing it to come back in. Okay, and whenever your attention starts to drift off somewhere else, then as soon as you become aware that it's drifted off, put it back to these sensations in your abdomen. Okay, so if you're ready, I'll just turn on a timer and we can do 10 minutes. of guided meditation. I'll actually guide you through this, and all you need to do is follow the instructions, and we'll go from there. Okay. So if you can adopt a posture, as I suggested earlier on, a posture where your back is, where your vertebral column is straight, and your head is in line with it. You're neither looking particularly up or particularly down. And if you want, you can visualize your head being supported by a cord at the top of your head. It's just like pulling you upwards. And at the same time, your shoulders are relaxed, and your hands are just gently resting on your belly. And the first thing I want you to do is to gently tighten your abdominal muscles, contract those abdominal muscles, and just observe how the air all gets pushed out of your lungs. All of the residual air goes out of your lungs. Breathe through your nose if you can. If you can't, it doesn't matter. And as soon as all of the air is out of your lungs, just gently relax those muscles and allow the air to flow back into your lungs. It doesn't have to flow in so that your lungs are full up. It's enough even if your lungs are just half full. You want to stop before there's any movement in your ribs, in your thorax. And then repeat this. Contract your muscles in your abdomen and push the air back out. And then when all the air is out, relax those muscles and let the air back in. And all of the time you were doing this, pay as much attention as you can to the physical sensations in your abdomen, of those muscles relaxing, contracting. As they contract, they push the air out of your lungs, and as they relax, the air flows back in. So I'll just let you pay attention to those movements for a few moments. And sooner or later, you'll invariably find that your attention has wandered off somewhere else. Maybe to some noises in the room you're in, or maybe there's a fly or an insect that's crawling across your face or something like that. That doesn't matter, that's fine. But as soon as you notice that your attention has drifted, just pull it back to those sensations in your abdomen. The sensation of the muscles contracting and pushing the air out, and relaxing and allowing the air back in. And just gently relax and contract those muscles. The speed at which you do them, just allow your body to find a rhythm that it's comfortable with. And all the while, there should be no real movement in your ribs at all. They should be just staying still without moving. And if for any reason you find your attention has gone anywhere else, just gently pull it back to those sensations of the movements in your belly, in your abdominal muscles. And every so often, just for a moment, just check that your posture is still as it's intended to be. Just check that your spine is straight and that your head has not started to go forward or backwards too far. And adjust your posture if necessary. And having adjusted it, bring your attention back once again to those movements in your belly moving in and out as the air goes in and out of your lungs. Every time your attention is distracted, just put it back to those movements. And check from time to time to see if you're still paying attention or if you've been distracted. And then make sure that your attention is on the movements in your belly, just the movement of those muscles, pushing the air in and out of your lungs. Focus all your attention on those movements of your belly. Okay, thank you. So that's the 10 minutes of guided meditation. You can relax now. And so one of the things I wanted to point out probably already clear to you from that meditation is that the thing that's really important about meditation is your attention and where your attention goes. And basically, meditations, practically all forms of meditation, involve paying attention to some aspect, either of your body or of your environment or some sort of thought, yeah, but continually returning your attention to whatever it is you're trying to pay attention to every time it wanders off. So in this particular exercise that we've just tried out, the attention was meant to be on the movements in your abdomen, the movements in the muscles in your belly. And every time your attention wandered somewhere else, your task is just to gently put it back to your belly. Now, it doesn't matter that the attention wanders off. In fact, that's what attention always does. It's in the nature of our attention that it does wander. And so meditation really, to a large extent, is an exercise of noticing when our attention wanders off and bringing it back again and again and again. So tens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, as you continue to do meditation over the days and months and years that you do it. And then gradually, as time goes on, the tendency for one's attention to wander will start to diminish. And so finally now, just to say a few words about why meditation can be particularly useful for people who stammer. And maybe first of all, it's useful to bear in mind that a lot of the problems that we encounter with stammering are also problems associated with our attention wandering to aspects of our speech or of our communication associated with stammering. So I'm sure many of you have had the experience when you find yourself in a speaking situation that you have a tendency to scan ahead and to be looking at the words that are coming up, and what happens is that you notice that a word is a word that maybe has caused you a problem in the past, or a sound that has caused you a problem in the past. And naturally, your focus of attention gets attracted towards that. And as your attention does get attracted towards these problem sounds, these problem words, or these problem situations, that distracts you from the message that you're trying to get across. It becomes an obstacle. So the better we are able to control where our attention goes, the easier it becomes to make sure that we can keep our attention simply on the message that we want to get across, on the aspects of communication that we have to pay attention to, instead of letting our attention get drawn into these sounds that keep causing us problems. But there's actually more to it than just focusing our attention. Another thing about meditation, and perhaps one of the most basic things about meditation, is that it brings us into a sort of state of harmony with our environment. It's almost like when you're meditating, you start to resonate with the environment around you. And meditation in itself, just simply sitting in the posture, maintaining that straight back, being upright, and focusing your attention and not letting it wander, puts you into this state of resonance with your environment. And as you resonate with your environment, you gain energy from the environment. And it's as if your batteries become charged. You could imagine like an electric car being plugged in, and it gradually charges up. And so if we meditate regularly, we find that we have more energy. And as people who stammer, I'm sure you're all aware that our stammering fluctuates from day to day, very much in line with our energy levels. So if we're tired, for any reason whatsoever, we tend to stammer more. Whereas if you have an abundance of energy, we find that we can more easily face situations. We tend to stammer less. Situations we're in seem to be easier to cope with. They're less daunting. We can face people in the eyes with less difficulty. And so if we have this discipline of meditation, our general energy levels are going to be raised up a little bit. And that rise in our energy levels simply makes everything to do with speech and communication easier. And the stammering becomes less of a problem and easier to control. So in this way, meditation helps us to develop our approach behaviors towards communication, and it reduces our avoidance behaviors. And maybe you may have heard of stammering sometimes being conceptualized as an approach avoidance conflict, where on the one hand, we want to speak because we have a message that we want to get across, but on the other hand, we're afraid of speaking because we've had past bad experiences. We've had past experiences of getting stuck, of stammering, past experiences of listeners not responding positively to us. And so this desire to speak is trying to make us speak, but there's also a desire to escape from the suffering that speech and communication failure can involve. So the meditation, it increases the approach behaviors and it reduces the avoidance behaviors. The net result being that speech and communication becomes easier. And then finally, one other thing that meditation does, and this is an important thing, because we're meditating, we're paying strong attention to whatever it is we've decided to pay attention to, which, whether it be our breathing or to something else. As we're paying strong attention to the sensations, to the raw feelings that come from our sense organs, there's less of an opportunity for our brains to start making value judgments about what's going on. So the more that we're paying attention, the less we're likely to fall into this trap of evaluating what we're doing in a negative way. So, for example, if we're focusing very strongly simply on speaking, on getting our message across, in a similar way to how we focus very strongly on meditating when we're breathing, there'll be less opportunity for our brains to start thinking thoughts like, I don't think my speech is good enough, or oh no, I'm going to stammer and I don't want to stammer, and all of these sort of thoughts that tend to arise and get in the way when we're trying to communicate. And the fewer such negative evaluations that we make about our speech, the less the tendency to block and to stammer tends to occur. So over a longer period of time, the combination of having more energy and of making fewer negative value judgments, it works like oil that lubricates our communication abilities and simply makes everything easier. It makes everything flow easier, and it increases our confidence in our ability to communicate it, and it reduces our tendency to feel overwhelmed and to feel like we have to avoid situations or people or sounds or whatever. The final thing I would say, though, is that meditation is a long-term approach. Yes, it helps in these ways that I've described, but it helps over a longer period of time. It's not that when you start meditating that all of a sudden everything will instantly just get better and easier and your speech will get better. But gradually, as you develop a regular routine of meditation, and by that I mean if you can do some meditation every day, and ideally at the same times every day on a regular basis, as the weeks go by, you will start to notice the sort of changes that I've mentioned. And then little by little, hopefully, things start to slot into place, and speech and communication works easier. Okay, so that's a very basic for you. Wanted to keep some time at the end for your questions and answers if you have any. So if I just stop speaking here now, and if there are any questions and answers, please let me know and I'll see if I can answer your questions. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to ask anything.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Ashman. So my question is that why was our object of meditation and abdomen and not the lungs? Say it can be breath, it can be the lungs, it can be heart, or the objects of meditation can be for anything. But why abdomen this time?
Okay, can I just stop you there? I'm afraid I'm having difficulty with the sound here. It keeps breaking up, so I'm not managing to hear exactly what you said. I'm not sure if there's any way around this. Can you?
Okay, let me try to understand if what Ashima is asked. Ashima, is your question about why do we have to practice abdominal breathing while doing the meditation?
Okay.
Is
Right,
that so?
Why do we have to practice abdominal? Well, we don't have to practice that at all. Abdominal breathing is one form of meditation. And I just introduced that basically because it's a type of meditation that's really well known, that you'll come across in lots of different situations if you go to different meditation groups. And so abdominal breathing involves focusing your attention on the movements in your abdomen, and also it combines that with a type of breathing which has a metabolic effect, which is quite relaxing. Other forms of meditation involve focusing your attention on other things. I mean, you can focus on thoracic breathing if you want, but that's not a relaxing form of breathing. That's a form of breathing that you may want to engage in before performing some sort of physical exercises or going for a run or something like that. That can also be meditation, and that's fine too. Or you don't even have to focus on your physical body. You can focus your attention on a candle or something like that that's in the room that you're in. Or even you can focus your attention on an idea And every time your attention wanders off, you can return your attention to that idea that you're focusing, or an image. The important thing is that you decide what you're going to focus on, and whenever your attention wanders off, you pull your attention back to whatever it is that you've decided you're going to focus on. So there's a lot more flexibility, and of course in your everyday life you might decide to focus on different things at different times. So while you're doing the washing up, you may decide to focus your attention entirely on the washing up. While you're doing the ironing, you might focus entirely on the ironing. These are all meditative practices, or they can all be meditative practices. But personally, I find when I've got nothing else in particular to do, and I simply want to sit, I find that abdominal breathing is a really useful type of meditation. It largely because of its relaxing effect, and also I think because it's a fundamentally different way of breathing to the sort of breathing that we often find ourselves doing. And so that difference, in a way, it acts as a constant reminder that, yes, I'm doing this as a meditation practice. Okay, so I hope that's answered your question a bit.
Any other questions from the audience? Actually, I also remembered something while you were answering this question.
Yes.
Is that I had read on, I think, one book on meditation about reciting mantras when you are meditating. So
Yes.
is that something which is advisable for you to concentrate better?
Okay, so that's another thing that you can focus your attention on. And mantras are a bit like breathing. They're more than just the sounds. They have a vibrational quality to them. And if you're reciting that mantra over and over again, the same mantra, it a bit like abdominal breathing, I think it can it can put you into a state of resonation, or you start to resonate with your environment. And again, in this way, it's replenishing your batteries in a way. It's giving you this boost in energy. Like, we can get energy from different sources. We get energy from the food we eat as well. But meditation is a different form of energy. It's like a vibrational energy that comes into us while we meditate. And certainly mantras are a very effective way of getting that energy. But of course, the other thing about a mantra is you have to really focus your attention on that mantra. And it becomes a similar exercise. Naturally our attention wanders off. You're reciting the mantra, but your attention starts to go off. You start thinking about having a cup of tea afterwards or something like that. And as soon as you notice, you pull your attention back to the mantra, and you just do that again, over and over and over again. And gradually, over time, your attention is able to stay with that mantra, and you get the benefit, the vibrational energy that you get from the mantra increases, and this increases your energy levels overall and makes everything slot into place. So yeah, that's a great alternative.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, before the next question, I would just like to add. Yeah, sorry, somebody is asking. Yes.
Hello. Hi, Paul.
Yes, please go on. We can hear you.
Hello. Hi, Paul. How are you? Yeah. First of all, thank you so much to become a part of the NP 2022. First of all, I would like to tell you all the new members who are joining with Tisa in this year. Actually, I have got a chance to ask the question to Paul after the 1 year. Actually, I have met Paul in last year NC, online NC. Paul has written very much and very interesting book about the stuttering. The book name is the Perfect Stutter. This is a very beautiful and very important book. This book is available on Amazon Kindle. So I will try to all of you, please watch this book, and because in this book, Paul has written all his biography of his life, how he has become. Because the first part of this book has in all of the childhood surgery, and the second part is that how he has tried to change his stuttering behavior to good speaker. Uh, so, thank you so much, Paul. Paul, actually, I have one question to you. In India, actually, I have before 6 months, I have joined the Vipassana meditation in India, and currently I am sitting in Osho. I think Zurmati Buddha. I think this is the place for the Osho. There are different types of meditation in India. This Vipassana and Osho's meditation, and both have different. So, I am following the Vipassana meditation. They are totally thinking on your nostril. So, as a thing, is there is there any similarity the abnormal breathing and Vipassana meditation? Or both are same or same? What do you think in this?
Okay,
Can I
I'm sorry again, but I'm afraid I'm not hearing. I think maybe Harish could.
Yeah, can I?
Actually,
who is asking this question? Can you say your name, please?
Yes, my name is Sandeep Patil.
Sandeep Patil.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sandeep Patil is saying that he has read your book and he liked it a lot, and he is also recommending everybody in the audience to read your book. And he has a question that he has been practicing Vipassana meditation and also Osho meditation. And then he is asking if the abdominal breathing is same as Vipassana meditation, or are there different types of meditation? Something in those lines. The question.
Okay, I think it is, but I'm not sure. I learned it. My background was in Japanese Zen, and so my experience of that sort of breathing came from Zen. Vipassana is very similar, and in fact, we have a group of people who come here to meditate, and some of them do Vipassana meditation. But I know that Vipassana involves more than one type of sitting meditation. So I imagine that this abdominal breathing is just one form. But really, the short answer is that I'm not sure exactly what types of meditation they do in Vipassana. As for Osho, my memories of Osho, I've read lots of his books and find them really very interesting and entertaining. One of the things about Osho is that he draws from very many sources involving many different types of meditation. And so definitely in any of the Osho communities, they will do some abdominal breathing, but that would only be one out of a range of different things that they do. And as I said, in response to the previous questions, really the most important thing about meditation is not so much the outer form of it, but simply this process of paying attention and drawing the attention back to whatever it is that you've decided that you're going to pay attention to, whether it be your abdomen or whether it be something else. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I think there are different types and techniques of meditation, but I think in the end, it's all about, being mindful about the present, about being in the present. I think that is the crux of all the techniques of meditation, right, Dr. Paul?
Pretty much. I mean, certainly the majority. In very many ways, the problems that arise with human beings are associated with the capacity we have for our attention to go back into the past, or for us to start anticipating the future. I mean, a lot of our problems in life arise because of our intelligence, really. We're great at anticipating the future, and very often that helps us. That helps us to predict things that we have to be prepared for and ready for. But sometimes these capacities, like the capacity to anticipate, actually doesn't help us. And I think this is a situation with people who stutter, where a lot of our stuttering starts, well, a lot of moments of stuttering start with an anticipation. What happens is we remember having had a difficulty with a particular word or a particular situation, a particular sound. And then we anticipate, we think, oh God, that's this sound again, or this word again, or this situation again. And we start anticipating all of the things that can go wrong. And that capacity to anticipate in that particular instance is not helping us at all. It'd be better if we didn't anticipate. It would be better if we were simply paying attention to the present moment, like you say, Harish. And so meditation is a great way of training us not to be too clever, basically.
Exactly.
To actually be more. I mean, one of the things I've become aware of over the years as I meditate is we tend to presume that things that have happened in the past are always going to continue happening in the future.
Right.
But the truth is that although most patterns repeat, and it is true that most patterns do repeat, they don't always repeat. There's a time when patterns stop repeating. And if we're all tied up with our anticipations of the future and our memories of the past, we might not notice that actually things have changed, and that actually many of the things that we're frightened of, or many of the things that caused us problems in the past, are actually not such big obstacles now. But in order to realize that, our focus of attention has to be on the present moment. And that's an important reason for doing meditation.
Right. And Paul, you talked about anxiety and anticipating the future, and also brooding in the past. I think there is something else about stammering, which happens to many person who stammers, is that if I had a really bad experience, say at a grocery store or in a bus or while buying a ticket, it stays in your mind for a long time, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. You are still there. Okay, it doesn't go out, and it doesn't leave you. It doesn't let you live peacefully. I think meditation will also help you come out of this kind of situations wherein you are stuck in that one particular bad situation.
Yes. So what you're speaking about there in many ways is traumatic experiences, and maybe experiences that lead to things like post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's no doubt that people who stammer have had many traumatic experiences related with their speech. You know, I can think of lots throughout my past where I can remember situations as if they happened yesterday, situations from school where I had to speak in front of the class, situations of people putting the phone down on me, situations sometimes of people running away from me or threatening to call the police, you know, things like this, they stay with us, yeah. And so meditation is well recognized now as a valid form of therapy for these sort of traumatic experiences that people accumulate. I mean, not just in relation to stuttering, but in relation to other aspects of our lives too. And yes, meditation can help us to integrate those memories so that they no longer cause us to re-enter those traumas, basically.
Exactly. Right. Do we have any more questions from the audience? We also have people joining on Zoom directly. I think we have Dhruv Gupta joining from the US.
Okay, yes.
Any more questions? Hi, Dhruv.
Hello.
Hi, Harry. Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Paul.
Hi.
Great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very enlightening.
Yeah, I think we have a question from the audience. You can go on. Just say your name and you can start your question.
My question is, we doesn't ever when we are at home or when we are talking with our good friends, but after coming out from home and meeting with a stranger, we start stammering very bad. Why it happens? Due to lack of confidence, due to fear, or what is why why?
Yeah, what is your name?
Abhishek Kumar.
Sorry?
Abhishek. Abhishek.
Abhishek. Abhishek, yeah.
Okay, Harish, did you get that?
the question?
Because
Yeah. So Abhishek is asking that, sometimes he is very comfortable at home, talking to his friends or parents, but the moment he starts talking to strangers, he stammers a lot. So he's asking is that lack of confidence and how can he deal with this? Why this happens?
well, I think there could be many reasons for this, and in fact there probably are a variety of different factors that all come together that often make it more difficult to speak to strangers and to speak to family members or people that you know well. I should point out that if you look at a large number of people who stammer, you actually see all patterns. I know some people who stammer who actually find it easier to talk to strangers and more difficult to talk to their family, although the majority find it more difficult to speak to strangers. I think a lot of it must go back to our past experiences again. The people that we speak to in our lives, of course, everybody responds to us in slightly different ways. Some people are much more tolerant of our stammering. Other people are not so tolerant. One of the things about strangers is we just, at the beginning at any rate, we don't know how they're going to be. So there's a big unknown there. And then if we don't know, then we tend to maybe make predictions based on the majority of our past experiences. And if the majority of our past experiences with strangers have been difficult, then we'll probably predict that this is going to be difficult. And if we predict that it'll be difficult, then it will be difficult. And the same with family. I mean, I used to find it pretty difficult to speak to my dad, but very easy to speak to my mum. And I think that very much reflected the different ways in which my mum and my dad responded to me when I spoke. So yes, I think it boils down to individual experiences and okay, so that was the first bit, why these experiences are different. In terms of what we can do about that, well, that's a question to which there's no one single answer, I think. I think we have to look at our own personal situations and see what situations are causing the most problems to us, and look at ways in which we can learn to handle those situations more effectively. And that could involve all sorts of different things. It could involve sorts of systematic desensitization. It could involve cognitive behavioral therapy, maybe, looking to see whether our predictions are really accurate or whether they're out of date, maybe because our personal circumstances might have changed. It's always going to be different. But whatever the case, meditation is a sort of general thing that in a way can help in a much less focused way, but in a general way, it can help in all situations and with all people. So I think that's about as much as I can say about that. I hope that answers part of the question anyway.
Yes, yes, very much. So Abhishek, it's about your past experience, about how your experience have been. And I think one way to, I think you can do is you can have a lot of stranger talk. I believe tomorrow we have an activity where you will go out and talk to strangers. So I think you can try that. Yeah. Any other questions? Dhruv, yeah.
Hello.
Hi again. So one kind of thing I'm exploring is like there are some like meditations that kind of make you more compassionate towards others.
Yeah.
But like
Yes.
metta, for example, in the
Yeah.
but yeah. So do you feel that like my kind of experience is that when you become more compassionate, you kind of become less self-centered or self-absorbed and stuff. So do you feel that like if we sort of like become more compassionate, like to that kind of meditation, would that impact stammering in any way? Like if we're less like thinking about ourselves and like concerned with our own sort of appearance or impressing others, etc.
I'm sure that helps in every way. So metta meditation, I think, is a great thing to do. I mean, it's quite a substantially different way of meditating to the one that I described. But one thing I'm conscious of is that a lot of the difficulty we experience when interacting with other people is that we are concerned about how they're going to react to us, whether they're going to reject us, whether they're going to get frustrated or fed up of waiting or whatever. Now, there's not so much we can do directly to influence how people respond to us, but there's an awful lot that we can do about how we respond to other people. And I think that to the extent that we're able to adopt a compassionate attitude towards other people in general, that will come back to us insofar as the way that people will respond to us will mirror the way that we respond to other people. And even if that doesn't happen, it's a good thing to do anyway. I mean, there's no doubt about that. One of the practices I tried, and I've done this also over many years, is I try to imagine that ultimately we're really all just one person. We're all the same person, really. It's almost like we're all different incarnations of the same person. And so however you're treating other people, you're actually treating yourself like that too. And vice versa, yeah. So meta meditation, I think, can work on that sort of level where what we give out, we ultimately get back. So yes, it's a great form of meditation, and it's certainly a good one to be practicing.
That's wonderful insight. Okay, do we have any more questions from the audience? I think if not, then we can conclude. All right. So I think one thing which we have learned from Paul today is that meditation is all about long term. So it's a long term solutions. You cannot expect that I start meditation today and I will start seeing the effects immediately. It is something that you have to practice every day and on the same time every day. And it's also about discipline. I think this is something which we all have to follow. And I think with that, I think we can conclude this session. I would really like to thank Dr. Paul for taking out time and sharing your knowledge with us. The guided meditation was wonderful. And thank you for being so considerate and flexible about the time. We had some delays and all these things, but thank you for that. And it was really wonderful. Always nice to have in our national conferences. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, all of you. Thank you. It's great to be with you again, and I enjoy coming and seeing you all at your conference online. And okay, so I hope you enjoy the remaining parts of the conference. I don't know how much longer it goes on for, but maybe see you next year.
Yep, sure. Yes, looking forward to the next year. And I think now they're going to have a bonfire after the dinner. So it's time to have fun then. Thank you so
Super.
much, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so folks, thanks for joining. So now you can go and have I'm sure you might be waiting to create and finish it. Have it. And post that we will be having bonfire, games, fun, music. So do not miss it. That's the best part. Like that's the best part where you really have to stand up and then your fear will go off. So it's we will be having it like it's fun to have it at 9 p.m. but we can be slightly late. Fine. Okay, then have food and please have a great time. Thank you. Bye.
क्योंकि उसमें ऐसा है कि लोकल्स के लिए ना